her.
Hi,
There
guys.
she is.
I'm good. It's
How
great
are
to see you
we?
both.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, it's so great to see you. Good, good, good. I'm so glad that you're able to join us because I follow you on Instagram. Obviously, I'm so well aware of you, and thank you for all of the advice that you've given us. And I think we're trying to celebrate here, Doctor, in Brain Awareness Month for people to understand what does a brain healthy lifestyle actually look like. So if someone were to come and visit you at the as a functional medicine doctor, what would you tell them about how to adopt
Yeah,
a
first
brain
of all,
healthy
thank you so much
lifestyle?
for having me. It's great to be with you all. And I think it's great that we're talking about brain health because there's so much that we can do every day that impacts our brain health. And sometimes people don't realize that. They come in with a family history of Alzheimer's or dementia, or they feel like they're losing some of their memory or their recall, and they get really nervous and worried and think that there's nothing they can do. And it's just so incorrect because there's so much we can do every day. And when we take care of our bodies, that takes care of our brain. And of course, when we take care of our brain, that takes care of our bodies. So there's so many things we can do from a lifestyle perspective and even beyond that can impact the health of our brain.
What would you tell people to do, though? People come in and say, I'm feeling run down. I'm feeling like I have brain fog. I'm 28 like Patrick, or I'm in my 60s like Maria. What do you advise them to do at both of those junctures?
Absolutely. So I always love to start with lifestyle because there's a lot that we can really impact there that can have a huge impact, right? So first of all, we start with the diet and we say, okay, what are you guys eating? Let's make sure that we're doing whatever we can with making the right choices with our foods every day. So, let's make sure we're eating regularly, we're eating the right foods, we're working to balance our blood sugar. So what that means is that we want to have at each meal, we want to have a good source of protein, a good source of fat, and a good source of fiber. And, I know when you were putting together these bars, one of the things you were looking at is doing that balance, because when you make sure that you have a good source of protein, a good source of fat, and a good source of fiber every time you eat, what happens is your blood sugar stays more stable. And result, we don't get those spikes in insulin. And we know, unfortunately, that insulin resistance, which is so common, definitely in the United States, but even worldwide, is one of the #1 causes of declining brain health. So #1 cause of Alzheimer's, dementia, and declining brain health. So making sure that you're preventing those spikes in insulin by balancing your blood sugar with source of protein, fat, and fiber at each meal is really critical for preventing those insulin spikes. It's a really great place.
And so you mentioned kind of the right foods and brain healthy foods. Do you want to just talk a little bit about maybe your top 3 favorite foods or foods that people should be incorporating? I know you said the fats, fiber, low sugar, but a few people on here want to know specifically what are the best foods that are in your regimen for brain health.
I mean, it's really about making sure. I think the best thing is to make sure that each meal, it's really the composition of the meal that's probably the most important. Making sure that you've got lots and lots of vegetables in your diet, making sure that you've got good healthy fats in your diet that include things like omega-3 fats from things like ground flaxseed and salmon, and that you have good sources of like MCT oil, which is found in coconut oil. We know that having a good source of protein at each meal is really important. Protein comes from everything from salmon and sardines to eggs to meat and beans and legumes and vegetables, of course, because they're rich in phytonutrients, and that really helps with lowering inflammation in the body. And we know that inflammation is really a major cause of disease, cognitive decline as well.
That's so great, Doctor. When everybody talks about inflammation, you just mentioned that word, and people often say to me, like, what is inflammation? How do I tell if I have inflammation? I don't even know how to ask the doctor about inflammation.
Yeah, it can be this really confusing term that we throw around so often. And one of the best ways that you can tell if you have inflammation, well, first you can have a doctor do a test like a C-reactive protein that can give you an indication. If it's elevated, that means you have inflammation. But what inflammation can feel like in the body, it can feel like water retention, you know, fluid retention, joints feeling stiff, digestive issues, asthma, eczema. You know, there's the body is made to have sometimes where it goes and has inflammation, and that's okay. That's necessary for healing. It's the chronic long-term inflammation that is the biggest concern. And one of the major reasons that people have this chronic long-term inflammation is because they're eating the wrong foods. They're eating foods that are inflammatory for them, which may be, refined and processed foods, foods that are high in sugars, foods that are not that rich protein, fat, and fiber we were talking about. And
I don't know, Mom, if you I think everyone seems to say you're frozen. I don't know if you can see us, Mom, fine or not.
I see you perfectly. I hear you both perfectly. I see you both perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm listening perfectly. I feel great. So I don't know what the problem is, but whenever I have a problem, I just keep talking.
Great. Well, let's keep it going, though. I'm not sure. Are you getting some comments on your page or not?
Yes, I do. People are asking, about liquor. They're asking about wine. Is that something that is, people are saying it's working now, the feed. People often ask about the role of wine in a brain healthy diet, the role of liquor in a brain healthy diet. Doctor, can you
when we're
address
talking
both
about
of those?
alcohol, it's really, moderation is key here. And we have to remember that for women, that's 5 or less drinks a week. And for men, it's 10 or less drinks a week is considered moderation. So, and a drink is, a shot or 5 ounces of wine, for example. Moderation's key because excess alcohol, what happens is it uses up your B vitamins. And B vitamins are critical for brain health. In fact, one of the biggest deficiencies we see all the time when people are dealing with cognitive decline is deficiencies in B12. And so that's another we often are looking for. We're testing for B12 deficiency. But one of the, just bringing that back to alcohol, it just uses up a lot of your B vitamins. And so you want to keep it moderate.
And I think in the beginning, you talked a little bit about eating at the same time and having your certain meals and then falling asleep. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I know that's something my mom talks about all the time, of trying to wake up at the same time every day, trying to eat at the same time every day, trying to go to bed at the same time every day, and putting your body in this kind of rhythm. And I know you touched on it just in the beginning, so I didn't know if that was something that you do or you like to speak of.
Absolutely. I mean, your body's rhythm is really important for your overall health. All of our cells in our body have like a clock almost, and they work better when we're working in connection with the normal rhythms of the day. And so rhythm is, in your day is very helpful for many different things. We know that it helps with sleep, and sleep's so critical for brain health. We know that when we're getting adequate sleep, there's this process that occurs where the brain actually heals during the night with this whole lymphatic system where there's brain healing at night. So you want to get good, healthy sleep. Those 7 to 9 hours for most people is what we're reaching for. But what helps people do that is having that regular rhythm in their day. I
was just going to ask that because it's a lot easier said than done to sleep the 7 or 9 hours. But it seems like a lot of people have trouble going to sleep, staying asleep, staying in the deep sleep. So I know that has a lot to do with diet, but is there anything you do to help your sleep, to actually fall asleep and stay asleep?
I think being in that regular rhythm is really critical. Getting up at a similar time every day, going to sleep at a similar time, the body gets used to that and sleeps more easily. We always talk about having this routine before bedtime, turning off your devices, turning off your phone and your computer and bright lights, and taking a nice bath. There's something, getting your body used to that rhythm where it knows that, okay, it's time for me to calm down. It's time for me to get to sleep. Maybe doing some meditation or gentle yoga. Those are things that really help the body relax and get a good night's sleep.
Elizabeth, somebody just asked about meditation, and we do know that meditation, like sleep, allows the brain to kind of come down, relax, right? That it's a very positive influence on your brain to practice meditation. I'm always trying to get Patrick to do that, but unsuccessfully so far. But what is the benefit of a practice like
Absolutely.
meditation?
And you've got all the graduates at the University of Michigan to do it as well, right? Importance of meditation really critical, because we know that when we activate that parasympathetic nervous system, which occurs when we're meditating, that we have increased activity or increased blood flow to the hippocampus, which helps with memory and learning. And we know that meditators also have decreased activity in the amygdala, which is where that fear-based behavior comes from, right? So we do know that meditation is critical for learning, for memory, and for brain health. And we know that activating that parasympathetic nervous system is critical. When people are under chronic long-term stress, they have cognitive decline, they have dementia. And so that is really another area we always start with, because so often people are coming in with issues like, you know, having a hard time with word finding or remembering people's names, and it's really sometimes just that, you know, not really taking the time to calm the mind and give the body rest and to activate that parasympathetic nervous system that we really have to work on.
And oh, go,
That's
no,
something
go
I
ahead.
find. Go ahead, go Patrick.
Okay, well, I just wanted to, we had some
Go ahead.
questions about sugar, and I know you talked about in the beginning insulin spikes and kind of taking the body out of that.
Yeah.
You know, we created MOSH bars with no added sugars. You know, our bars have 1 gram of naturally occurring sugar, but no more, and we're big believers of not having any, you know, added refined sugars to our products, and trying to keep your refined sugars and added sugars at a minimal throughout your day. Are there any sweeteners that you do like that are out there, or what's the difference for you when it comes from fruit sugars versus additive cane sugar and stuff like that? A lot of people always ask us about sugar.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right. You want to keep your added sugars to a minimum, you know, always. That's really what you're looking for, keeping them to a minimum. And the body gets used to not having all that sweet taste. You know, what we realize is that so many products in the grocery store, what is it, almost 65% or higher products in the grocery store have added sugar in them. And so we got sort of used to this sweeter taste. And it's a shame, because all that added sugar is causing those spikes in blood sugar, which then cause spikes in insulin. And insulin is the hormone that's really bad for the brain, but it also causes us to gain weight around the belly. So it's really causing a lot of this weight gain around the belly as well. So not only are we, you know, we're having some brain decline and our brain's not as healthy, but we're gaining weight where we do not want to. So, you know, I think that you always want to go for more natural sugars when you're reaching for them, but really keeping it to a minimum. And again, when you're having sugar, it's part of that. It's part of that meal that's rich in protein, fats, and fiber, because that helps prevent those insulin spikes, which are the big concern.
Dr. Elizabeth, a couple people have asked on here, and I hear people ask me all the time, that when they go to the doctor never asks them about their brain health. So what should they be asking the doctor to look at, or what questions should they be asking the doctor?
Yeah, so, you know, so often in conventional medicine, we're waiting till something's really broken before we try to fix it. And what we know about brain health and disease in general, whatever we can do in this time of prevention is really critical, because it's much easier to prevent early signs. I mean, they know that people can develop signs of dementia or Alzheimer's 20, 30 plus years before they will get a diagnosis. And so whatever we can do in this early years makes it easier to reverse. So you can ask your doctor to check things like that C-reactive protein that looks for inflammation. Greater than 1 is too high. You can ask your doctor to check a fasting insulin. You know, we like it around 5. We know greater than 12 is a definite concern for fasting insulin. You can ask your doctor if you have signs of insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome, which is what we're talking about, which is a major cause for a cognitive decline. And so it's probably one of the most common things that we know is causing a lot of issues with brain health. So you can ask them to just ask those questions, see what they tell you, because they know what it is. They just need to, spend the time to talk to you about it.
And I think you brought something up about fasting. And we've actually gotten a few questions about fasting, and we've asked our customers and followers what they think about fasting. Do you have a preference on that? I know a lot of people say it's great to give the brain and the body a break from eating and from doing that kind of work with its metabolism for anywhere for 8, 12, my mom does 16 hours, but I think it's a little intense. She does 18 hours or 20 hours something, but yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
I do not.
But I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Not.
Yeah, so time restricted eating and fasting is really a wonderful tool that is very helpful for a lot of people for many things, from controlling weight, but also, helping give the body time to rest and rejuvenate. So, we say, I always try to get people to try to do at least 12 hours at night where they're not eating. It helps everything from the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of your cells, which help with energy and metabolism, to your microbiome and your digestive system. So, try to at least not eat for 12 hours. We know that the food that you eat in the evening is the most concerning in terms of causing bigger spikes in insulin. So, avoid eating after dinner. It's really critical to say, okay, I've had dinner and now I'm done and I'm not going to eat for another 12 hours. That's a really great way.
Easier said than done.
No, but I think that's a really big, I think one of the things is that people are so confused with all the different advice, right? And there's so many diet books, and very few of them also, now it's beginning to change, but include the brain in those kind of diet books, right? But I hear people going, do I eat a Mediterranean diet? Should I be vegan? Should I be paleo? Should I be keto? And I myself find it confusing. I find myself bouncing around, like maybe I should try keto. And then my kids go, no, don't do keto. Then maybe I should try, plant-based.
We want anything for you that makes you eat. That's what we want.
Right. But what is your advice there kind of for, all of the history shows the Mediterranean diet, people who follow a Mediterranean diet, a MIND diet, certainly in the blue zone areas, seem to fare the best. And those who eat a kind of standardized American diet fare the worst. So is there something
I think you're right that all of that, there's been so much research on the Mediterranean diet. So we've got a lot of research there, and that's great. And it's a great diet to be on. So do people need to do more than that, right? More than a Mediterranean diet. I really love, I work with Mark Hyman, so I have to plug him here, but I love diet, because what it does is it takes the best of the paleo diet with a vegan diet, brings them both together. And I just really like where he's coming from there. But what it's really about is balance. So often when people go on a strict vegan vegetarian diet, we do start to see deficiencies that can impact brain health. We'll see deficiencies in those really important omega-3 fats, which as you know, are so important for the brain. We can see deficiencies in B12, which is also really important for brain health. And on the other hand, there are some people we put on a keto diet when they are having cognitive decline. But we do, when somebody restricts carbohydrates so much that they're actually going into ketosis, sometimes they have to limit a lot of the vegetables, or a good amount of the vegetables, and that can impact your microbiome over time. So if you are going toward if you're doing a modified ketogenic diet, I think you can get a lot of the good healthy vegetables in there. But if you're going more severe, going into ketosis all the time, it's good to work with somebody, make sure that you're getting everything your body needs.
I can't see the questions. I think it's on your side, so I don't know if
I see. Sorry. I thought you could see the questions. Well, the questions are a lot about what we've answered, a lot about insulin resistance, a lot about how to keep your insulin in check, Mediterranean diets, people asking questions about what is the best diet for them. We're actually at the Women's Alzheimer's Movement, which MOSH supports, we're funding research into the keto diet, because trying to look at, does that help with mental clarity? Does that help with cognitive health overall? But what we do know, which I think is what the doctor's talking about, is that food directly impacts kind of what you remember, how you remember, whether you have clarity, brain fog. This generation talks a lot about brain fog, Patrick's generation, right? I never heard brain fog when I was growing up. So there's a kind of completely different knowledge about food. Would you not agree with this generation?
Yeah, I do think so. There's so much information out there, and a lot of people are able to utilize that information for their own. But you were right about what you were saying before also, Maria, that sometimes it can be so confusing and overwhelming, and people just sometimes don't even know where to start. And so the basics are really important here. You know, when we talk about making sure you get 8 to 12 phytonutrients in a day, and the phytonutrients come from your plant foods. That's your vegetables, fruits, spices, teas and coffees. And there's so many components. These phytonutrients in your plant foods really help to lower inflammation in the body, help to lower oxidative stress. Both of those things really can impact the brain health. And so really working toward incorporating more of these plant foods into your day, it really helpful. Some people get overwhelmed with when we say that number 8 to 12, but when you have a big salad with lots of different types of vegetables in it, you can, or you have an omelet with a lot of vegetables in it, you can get those numbers up using a lot of spices and teas and things like that as well.
And Maria, before we
people
end
also
here
talking
at
about
3:30, because I know it's about to come, a lot of people are asking you, what is MOSH? So I don't know if you've introduced MOSH, and probably followers from Dr. Elizabeth's come on here. So I don't know if you want to talk about that for a second.
Okay. Well, MOSH is our protein bar for the brain, and portion of the proceeds that we have that we make go to the Women's Alzheimer's Movement, which funds research into women's brains, because women are 2/3 of those who get Alzheimer's. And as the doctor was just saying, Alzheimer's can be found in the brain 10, 20, sometimes even 30 years. So we're trying to get young people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, to start thinking about their brain health, to start understanding that they can adopt a brain healthy lifestyle. This is Brain Awareness Month, and MOSH comes in 3 flavors: peanut butter chocolate, and chocolate. And we have more other flavors coming. We're also looking at doing a vegan bar. That was one of Dr. Mark Hyman's suggestions, is to do a vegan bar, which we're hoping to do as well. And we're trying to produce products that allow you to live a brain healthy lifestyle, while also giving you content like this that helps you know what to ask your doctor, that helps you understand the importance of exercise, the importance of sleep, the importance of food, the importance of community, the importance of conversations, the importance of keeping your brain active. As we always say, you only have one brain, and the goal is to get it to last as long as possible. And so Patrick's interested in it in his 20s. I don't know how old Dr. Liz there is. I bet she's about in her 30s or 40s. I'm in my 60s. But, but I think this is something that doctors traditionally haven't talked to their patients about, and people haven't traditionally heard about how to live a brain healthy lifestyle. It's always been kind of from the neck down. And our whole company, I eat a couple of these bars a day, but is designed to be delicious, nutritious, and also activate your brain to get you thinking about all of the things that Dr. Boham was talking about today that you can do to take control of not just your physical health, but your cognitive health as well, because they work together.
Well, thank you, Dr. Elizabeth, so much for taking the time and coming on our page. Absolutely. And for people that don't know, you can click here on the MOSH account, so you can see our profile. We do a lot of educational material on our page. We do brain teasers, and the people that get it right get free bars. We do a lot of fun different stuff on there. So come check us out on moshlife.com or on our Instagram page. And yeah, thank you.
And it says where to buy MOSH. You can also follow Dr. Liz on her Instagram. She posts a lot of stuff, and she does a lot of stuff with our great friend Mark Hyman. But you can buy MOSH only online.
Why don't you hold it up,
not
because you
in
keep
stores
bringing
yet,
it by
but
and no
that's
one
part
can see
of
what it is.
Dr. Liz,
No, it's
I'm
upside
gonna
down. But
can
you
you
can
see
go
what
on
it is now?
moshlife.com
I got
for
it
people that keep
now.
asking.
Oh my God, he's like really running me ragged today. He's like, God, I mean, what do I do with a boy like this? It's just, say good job, Mommy.
You haven't had your MOSH bar, so we excuse you. Now she's eating it.
Oh my God. Thank you, doctor, for joining us. God bless you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Patrick.
Love you, Mom.
You too, Patrick.
See you, Dr. Elizabeth.
I hope you
Bye.
love you too, sweetheart.